Hello and welcome to this video. We're talking about 50 ChatGPT prompts for programmers. In the previous video, I showed you prompts related to documentation, these 10 prompts. And in this video, I'll be talking about these 10 prompts on debugging your code, which is a very important skill for software development. So let's start with one of the most common use cases in debugging. It's when you get an error message or a warning message and you're trying to figure out the solution. So you can use this prompt in that case. First, I want to show you that I have a Python project in which I'm using the Whisper library by OpenAI, and I want to transcribe one of my audio files. So what's going on here? Have a look. We have a squiggly right here. And if I hover over it, it tells me that the import Whisper could not be resolved. But you know what? I definitely have Whisper installed. I can show you. First, I want to show you the Python version that I'm using. I have Python 3.9.13. This is what shows up in the terminal. And now if I fire up the Python interpreter, and over here I write import Whisper, notice there's no problem. The Whisper library or module was imported successfully. So what's going on here in VS Code? Why is VS Code complaining that the Whisper module could not be loaded or its import could not be resolved? So here's the thing. The way to use ChatGPT to resolve this is open the terminal and head over to the Problems tab. And then right-click and select Copy Message. And then I can add this message in this prompt. Import Whisper could not be resolved. I'm going to provide more context. So this is what I'm saying. I'm getting this warning message in my VS Code Python project. Please provide 5 tips to solve this error. And let's see if Python comes up with the solution that I'm looking for. Okay, so we definitely checked that the module is installed. There's no problem with spelling. Check the module search path. Now this is something that is definitely the problem. Here's what's happening. It's asking us to check the Python path because every module gets installed in its respective Python directory. So this is the one that I'm going to investigate. So you've just noticed that in the terminal, it shows us Python 3.9.13. But there's a version of Python that VS Code also uses. Let me show you. Python select interpreter, and there we go. Notice it's using Python 3.11.2, and that's the problem. The module Whisper is installed in Python 3.9.13. So all I have to do is I have PyEnv3 versions under PyEnv. I'm going to select 3.9.13, and notice what happens. And there we go. VS Code now is using Python 3.9.13, in which the Whisper module is installed, and this warning message gets resolved. Okay, so you may be wondering that's all there is to it, but I've left another bug in this code intentionally. I'm going to show you now. The problem is audio.mp3, no such file or directory. If you're a complete beginner to programming and you're just getting started with programming, these errors might not make sense immediately, right? Let's go and ask ChatGPT. Okay, so we're saying, hey, I'm getting this error again, and now it tells you to check the file path. This is straight on point. And this is exactly the reason for this error. Make sure that the file path you're using is correct. Double check the directory structure to ensure that the file is located in the correct location. Now what's happening is this robot.py file is in this root folder right here. And when you say model.transcribe this path, audio.mp3, robot.py will expect audio.mp3 file to be located somewhere in the root folder, but that's not the case. I don't see audio.mp3 anywhere in the root folder. There's a recordings folder and there is an audio.mp3 file here. So what you can do now to resolve this is to provide the correct directory path, recordings/audio.mp3. Now if you execute this file, you'll notice that everything is okay. There's no error. But you'll not get anything because you're not doing anything with the result. So I've added another line, print result text. And now notice what happens. Everything will be okay. There will be a result. It would be a dictionary with key value pairs. And this is a key text and the value. Hello and welcome to this video. In this video, I'm going to show you how to get started with the 50 ChatGPT prompts for programmers. So let's get started. And notice there's a slight error. So that's not a problem. So there you go. We just fixed our bug using ChatGPT. Now this next prompt is also interesting where you can provide a piece of code and the error, and then you can ask ChatGPT to help you debug it. So now let me show you. I have intentionally created another bug in this code, and let me show you what the error is. I added this line, print result, segments text, type error, list indices must be integers or slices, not string. Now, this might not be so intuitive, right? So we can take this entire code like that, and I'll use the same extension that I showed you before. See it again. And in this case, I'm going to take this whole thing and paste this code. And below this, I'm going to bring that prompt like that. I'm going to paste the prompt here. I'm going to provide the error. There we go. We're going to copy this, go back to our ChatGPT, and then now we're going to send this to ChatGPT. And we're asking, hey, this is a piece of code, I'm getting this error. Help me debug it. Straight off, it finds the problematic statement. This is the one. It's likely that result is a list, which is true. And you're trying to access an element using the key segments, which is a string, rather than an integer or a slice. We're trying to access something inside a list using a string instead of an integer, right? So this text needs to be an integer. And it's giving us suggestions. Hey, you should do this. Print type result, print result. So we're going to do that. We're going to duplicate this thing, and we're going to get rid of all of this and only the result. We're going to comment this line out. Now, when we execute this file, you'll see the exact result. Here it is. Now notice this is a dictionary with these key value pairs. So there's a text key and this is the value. This was working fine, but now you're looking for a segment. So let's have a look. Do we have a segment? And very sure, we have a segments key right here, which is pointing to a list, and you cannot access a list using this. The index for a list has to be an integer. So instead of doing it this way, we can uncomment this thing. We can add an index that is 0, and for the index 0, that means in this list we're looking for this entire dictionary, this one right here. From this dictionary we want the text, and there we go, there's the text. And now this code should work absolutely just like we expected. So we just resolved one of the tricky bugs using ChatGPT, and ChatGPT has been excellent at providing troubleshooting advice. Now I would want to give you one of the scenario-based prompts, which are usually used when you start doing prompt engineering. Now I want to show you this one right here. So let's copy it and let's head back to ChatGPT, and I want to paste it here. Now you're saying you are a developer working on a web application that is experiencing intermittent issues with session state. Users are reporting that they are occasionally logged out of the application and lose their progress. In fact, this can be a very good interview question. You're asking ChatGPT to list, let's say, 3 debugging techniques you would use to identify and fix this issue. Let's give this a number. Again, 4 strategies for preventing similar issues from occurring in the future. Excellent interview question, and ChatGPT immediately starts giving us those debugging techniques. Analyze the server logs. Definitely. The server logs contain valuable information. Use browser development tools. Definitely. If you're using a framework like React or Angular or Svelte, they come with their own browser extensions. You can use them to find what's going on and try to reproduce the issue in a controlled environment, right? And then for prevention, increase session timeout, increase session validation, client-side session management, definitely implement session backup. So there we go. We have just used ChatGPT to create a scenario and then ask what ChatGPT would do in that scenario. And this way you can learn how to answer interview questions for software development positions. Another interesting one is this one. You want to list some techniques for debugging a particular type of code in a particular type of editor. So let's say we want 3 techniques for debugging, let's say Python code in VS Code. And let's see what ChatGPT comes up with. Setting breakpoints. This is one of the bread and butter for troubleshooting inside an IDE. Then you want to use the debug console and watch expressions. All of these are interesting ones and widely used. So thank you for watching this video. Hope you found some value in this video, and I'll look forward to joining you in the next video where I'm going to show you 10 more prompts for refactoring your code using ChatGPT. I'll see you in the next video.